Okay, this should be the Algebra 1, Chapter 1 review guided notes for page 73, 1 through 24. As you see at the top of the page, I have some vocabulary written out there. Those are things that you should know or need to know. And if you don't know those words, I'm leaving it up to you to look them up. And I would do that at the end of the video. If at the end of the video you still don't know some of those words, go back and check those out. And just define them for yourself. So the first thing it asks you to do is take this mathematical statement and turn it into a phrase. And really, I'm just going to say it as I see it. It looks like negative 12 times t plus 2. Negative 12 times t plus 2. I don't like the way I wrote that here. Plus 2. Yeah. Well, if you want to get fancy, we could say 2 more than the product of negative 12 and t. But to me, it seems a little easier just to write it as you see it. Okay, then we need to review the order of operations. As you can see there on the left, it says PEMDAS. I'm sure you've heard this before, and I already noticed that some of you have filled this part out. But I need to make sure we know that this is the order in which you apply mathematical operations. Starts with P, and then E, M, D, A, and S. P stands for parentheses. The E stands for exponents. Multiplication. Division. And then we do our addition, and finally subtraction. Now we're going to put this into practice here. Okay, so I left a typo on this page, and the typo is here. This should not be negative 3, so let's cross that out. It should say negative 4. So go ahead and cross that out, and instead of that negative 3, it should be negative 4. Alright, to handle the order of operations, we need to start with parentheses, and the parentheses is 11 minus 9. So I'm going to say 3 times, well, 11 minus 9 is 2, and 2 cubed, and minus 28 divided by negative 4. The next thing we handle is the exponents. Well, our exponent here is this 3. 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, so 4 times 2 is 8. So I get 3 times 8 minus 28 divided by negative 4. The next thing I need to do is a multiplication. Here's my multiplication. 3 times 8 we know to be 24. And we keep everybody else in line. And next we do our division. Well, here's our division. I could say this is negative 28 divided by negative 4, and I would end up with a positive number. Or I could say it's 24 minus 28 divided by negative 4. So I'm going to say this is 24 minus, and 28 divided by negative 4 is negative 7. Excuse me. Yes, I'm right. It's negative 7. And 24 minus a negative, it's going to be plus. So then we get to our addition. Excuse me. Now this is plus a positive, so 24 plus 7 gives us 31. And if there were any more subtraction to be done, then we would handle our subtraction at the end. But we finished, and we got our single answer of 31. Okay, some properties of real numbers. Excuse me. You're going to find this on the page 23 and 24 in the book. Some properties of addition are the same as properties of multiplication. So like the associative property. Speaking of the associative property, we associate things in math with parentheses. And that tells us what operation to do first. And that helps whenever we look at the associative property. We know that the associative property changes those parentheses. And this still should give us the same answer. And I went ahead and looked up the definition of the word commute on dictionary.com. And the second one it gave us says to exchange one for another or something else. And then this is the word that I really like the most, interchange. So when we talk about the commutative property of addition or multiplication, it means that the order changes. So I'm going to do the commutative property of multiplication, which would be A times B is the same thing as B times A. And notice how they interchange or they switch. The commutative properties of addition and multiplication are when real numbers interchange with each other. Excuse me. The identity properties can be thought of as the do nothing properties. Essentially, they do nothing when applied to a real number. So 4 times 1 is 4. That's the identity property of multiplication. It does nothing. And here's a question I really want you to think about on your own. Why do we have properties for addition and multiplication but not for subtraction and division? We say that the absolute value of a real number is the distance away from 0 on a number line. Straight bars are used to notate absolute value. We treat absolute values like, I'm going to put this here because I don't leave myself enough room, like parentheses in the order of operations. So they need to be simplified first, if they can be simplified. Now let's put some of these ideas of absolute value into play. Alright, so here's a blank number line. I'm going to go ahead and state, here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would be 5. Over here, 1, 2, 4. A little bit straighter there, and then negative 5. So, right here, I'll just put a dot. To find negative 4 on the number line, put a dot where negative 4 would be on that number line. And now we want to simplify some of these three absolute values here. Now, the absolute value of negative 4 is the distance away from 0 on the number line. Well, here's negative 4 and here's 0, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. Right? And now B says negative absolute value of 7. Well, the absolute value of 7, it's going to be over here. Well, here's 7 on our number line. So the negative absolute value of 7, well, the absolute value of 7 is 7, so negative 7. Let me say negative 7. And for C, the absolute value of negative 2 minus 7. Now I need to handle inside parentheses first. So negative 2 minus 7. Well, keep my absolute value. Negative 2 minus 7 is negative 9. And the absolute value of negative 9 we know to be 9.